Caraxi pressed her back against the freezing metal wall, trying to make herself smaller. Maybe if she stayed quiet enough, invisible enough, they would stop noticing her. Stop laughing. Her skin used to glow. That's what Velthrans did when they were healthy and fed. Beautiful patterns of light that danced across their bodies like living art. Now her skin was dull gray, the light inside her dying along with everything else. 7 days without food. Or was it 8? Time blurred when you were starving. Station Omega-9 was massive. Thousands of beings from dozens of worlds walked these corridors every single day. Traders hauling exotic goods. Diplomats in fancy robes discussing treaties. Warriors with weapons that could level cities. All of them had one thing in common. None of them gave a damn about her. A group of Kryn merchants strutted past, their 6 legs clicking on the metal floor. One of them saw her and snorted. Actually snorted. Like she was garbage. Still here? The merchant said, his translator making his voice sound hollow. How pathetic. His companion, a younger Kryn, kicked out casually. His foot connected with Caraxi's leg, not hard enough to really hurt, but hard enough to humiliate. Move it, beggar. You're making the place look bad. They laughed as they walked away. That sound. That awful, cruel laughter. She'd heard it so many times in the past 3 weeks that it haunted her dreams. Caraxi pulled her knees to her chest and closed her eyes. She thought about home. About the colony. About her mother's cooking and her father's terrible jokes and her little brother who used to follow her everywhere. All gone now. The raiders had come without warning. By the time anyone realized what was happening, it was too late. Caraxi had been off-world, attending a cultural exchange program. She'd returned to find nothing but debris and silence. So she'd come here. To Omega-9. The great melting pot of the galaxy, they called it. Where all species came together in peace and prosperity. What a joke. She'd gone to the station council immediately. Surely they would help. Surely there were systems in place for refugees, for survivors, for people who'd lost everything. Denied, they'd said. 3 times she'd applied. 3 times rejected. No government to sponsor her claim. No family to vouch for her. No resources to offer in exchange for sanctuary. In the eyes of the council, she was worthless. Less than worthless. She was a problem that would hopefully solve itself by dying quietly somewhere out of sight. A shadow fell over her. Caraxi looked up to see a Malthor towering above her. The creature stood at least 9 feet tall, with gray skin like stone and eyes that burned with contempt. Still alive, it rumbled, its voice so deep she felt it in her bones. I'm impressed. Most Velthrans would have given up by now. Caraxi said nothing. What was there to say? This is natural selection at work, the Malthor continued, like he was explaining something obvious to a child. The strong survive. The weak perish. It's the way of the universe. 2 smaller aliens chittered their agreement from behind him. Caraxi didn't even know what species they were anymore. It didn't matter. They were all the same. All so sure that her suffering was somehow right, deserved, natural. The Malthor leaned down, his massive face inches from hers. Do everyone a favor and die somewhere else. You're depressing the tourists. He straightened up and walked away, his companions following. More laughter. Always more laughter. Caraxi felt the last bit of light inside her flicker. Her body was shutting down. Velthrans didn't just need food and water like most species. They needed emotional connection. Warmth. Contact. Without it, even if she somehow found food, her body wouldn't process it properly. She would starve anyway. She tried explaining this to the council. They didn't care. She tried begging at the market. People spat at her. She tried offering to work, to do anything, even the jobs no one else wanted. They said she was too weak, too useless, too alien. So here she was, dying slowly in a corridor while thousands of civilized beings stepped over her like she was trash. Caraxi closed her eyes again. Maybe it was better this way. Maybe the Malthor was right. Maybe she was weak. Maybe she deserved this. She heard footsteps approaching. Heavy boots. Another species coming to mock her probably. Or maybe security finally coming to throw her in a cell. Did it even matter anymore? Hey, a voice said. Mal. Unfamiliar. You okay? The tone was different. Not mocking. Not disgusted. Almost concerned? Caraxi opened her eyes slowly. A human stood before her. She'd seen humans before but never spoken to one. They were relatively new to the galactic community. Most species didn't take them seriously yet. He wore a worn brown jacket with patches on the elbows and boots that had seen better days. His face was weathered but kind, with brown eyes that actually looked at her like she was a person. Behind him, she could see other humans watching from near a docked ship. The name on the hull read Wanderer. A Selenite passing by noticed the human stopping. "Don't bother with that one," the alien called out. "She's contaminated. Failed genetics. Let nature take its course." The human didn't even glance at the Selenite. He just kept looking at Caraxi, those brown eyes full of something she hadn't seen in weeks. Compassion. He knelt down slowly, carefully, like he was afraid of scaring her. Up close she could see the scars on his hands. Working hands. Honest hands. "My name's Jake," he said gently. "Jake Miller. And I think you could use a hot meal." He held out his hand. Caraxi stared at it. This had to be a trick. Some new way to humiliate her. In 3 weeks on this station, not a single being had offered her kindness. Why would this human be different? But his eyes. There was something genuine there. Something real. And what did she have to lose? Slowly, her hand trembling, Caraxi reached out and took his hand. His skin was warm. So warm. She'd forgotten what warmth felt like. Jake smiled. Not a cruel smile. Not a mocking smile. Just, "Cut. Come on," he said, helping her to her feet. She was so weak she could barely stand, but he supported her weight easily. "Let's get you something to eat. No one starves on my watch." As he guided her toward his ship, Caraxi felt something impossible stir inside her chest. "Oh." Jake half-carried Caraxi up the loading ramp of the Wanderer. Her legs barely worked anymore and every step felt like climbing a mountain. But she kept moving because this human, this stranger, refused to let her fall. The ship's interior hit her like a wall of sensation. Warm air. The smell of something cooking. Soft lights instead of the harsh fluorescence of the station. And voices. Human voices calling out in concern. "Jake, what the hell?" A woman appeared in the corridor, tall with short black hair and eyes that could cut through steel. She wore a captain's jacket, faded but well-maintained. "You can't just." She stopped mid-sentence when she saw Caraxi's condition. "Oh," the woman said, her expression softening immediately. "Oh, sweetheart." "Captain Lisa Hayes," Jake said, still supporting Caraxi's weight. "Meet our new guest. She needs help." Lisa didn't hesitate. She moved into action like flipping a switch. "Tommy? Get the medkit from storage. Beth, we need the database pulled up, everything on Velthrans. Kate, heat up whatever food we've got left. Move people." 3 other humans appeared from different parts of the ship. A younger man with red hair and freckles, Tommy apparently, ran past them toward the back. A woman with warm brown skin and tired eyes, Beth, headed for the computer terminal. And Kate, a muscular woman with blonde hair tied back, disappeared into what looked like a tiny kitchen. They moved like a well-oiled machine. No questions asked. No debate about whether Caraxi was worth the effort. They just, help. Jake guided Caraxi to a small room with a medical bed. The mattress felt softer than anything she'd touched in weeks. Beth appeared moments later with some kind of scanning device. "I'm Dr. Beth Rodriguez," the woman said, her voice gentle as she ran the scanner over Caraxi. "I'm going to check your vitals, okay? Just relax." Caraxi nodded weakly. The scanner hummed, and Beth's face grew more concerned with each passing second. "Severe malnutrition," Beth muttered, reading the display. "Dehydration. Muscle atrophy. Her body's shutting down." She scrolled through more data. "Wait, there's something else here." She pulled up a file on Velthran biology. Caraxi watched her read, saw the exact moment Beth understood. "Oh no," Beth said softly. "Velthrans don't just need food. They need." She looked up at Caraxi with something like heartbreak in her eyes. "You need emotional connection to process nutrients. Your species literally cannot survive in isolation." "That's why she's so weak," Jake said, still standing nearby. "She's been alone." "For how long?" Lisa asked from the doorway. Caraxi's voice came out as barely a whisper. 3 weeks. On the station. No one would. She couldn't finish. Her throat closed up. Lisa's jaw tightened. 3 weeks. These bastards watched you starve for 3 weeks. "Captain," Beth said carefully, "if we're going to help her we can't just give her food. We need to." "Then we eat together," Jake interrupted like it was the most obvious thing in the world. "Simple as that." Tommy appeared in the doorway, slightly out of breath. "Kate's got soup heating up. Real stuff too, not the synthetic crap. She's been saving her good ingredients." "Perfect," Lisa said. "Set up the galley table. We're having a family dinner." 20 minutes later, Caraxi found herself sitting at a small table surrounded by 5 humans. The galley was cramped, barely big enough for all of them, but somehow that made it feel cozier. Kate had indeed made real soup, some kind of chicken and vegetable mixture that smelled like heaven. "Sorry it's not fancy," Kate said, ladling soup into bowls. "But it's hot and it's good." "It's perfect," Caraxi whispered. They passed bowls around and Tommy set a steaming portion in front of Caraxi. The warmth rising from it made her eyes water. Or maybe that was something else. "So," Lisa said, blowing on her own soup, "tell us about yourself. What's your name?" "Caraxi," she managed. "Beautiful name," Beth said with a genuine smile. "Where are you from, Caraxi?" And just like that they started talking. Not interrogating. Just talking. Tommy told a stupid joke about a pilot who flew into the wrong solar system. Kate complained about the station's overpriced supply depot. Jake asked gentle questions about Velthran culture, actually interested in her answers. Caraxi took a spoonful of soup. The warmth spread through her body, but it wasn't just the food. It was them. Their presence. Their voices. Their laughter when Tommy's jokes got progressively worse. For the first time in 3 weeks she didn't feel alone. Beth had been right. Velthrans needed emotional warmth to metabolize food. Without connection, without feeling valued and safe, their bodies simply couldn't process nutrients properly. It was why isolation killed them faster than starvation killed other species. But here and now, surrounded by these humans who'd known her for less than an hour, Caraxi felt her body responding. The soup nourished her in a way food alone never could. "I don't understand," she said suddenly. Everyone looked at her. "I encountered 12 different species on that station. Traders, diplomats, warriors, species that claimed to be civilized, advanced, enlightened. Not one of them stopped. Not one." Her voice cracked. "But you're human. You don't know me. You don't owe me anything. Why did you help?" The table went quiet for a moment. Then Jake shrugged like the answer was obvious. "Because you needed help," he said simply. "That's enough, isn't it?" "But the resources," Caraxi started. "We've got plenty," Kate interrupted. "One more mouth to feed isn't going to break us." "But your crew efficiency." "We're efficient enough," Tommy said. "But I can't offer you anything in return." Lisa held up a hand, stopping her. "Caraxi, listen to me. We didn't help you because we expected something back. We helped you because it was the right thing to do. That's all." Caraxi stared at her. "That's not how the galaxy works." "Maybe not," Lisa said, her eyes hardening. "But it's how we work. As humans, we've got this weird idea that every person, every being, deserves basic dignity. Crazy, right? Most species would call it weakness," Caraxi said quietly. Jake snorted. "Most species are idiots." That got a laugh around the table. Even Caraxi felt her lips twitch. She looked down at her arms and gasped. Her skin. The dull gray was fading, replaced by the faintest hint of light. Soft blues and purples, barely visible but there. "You're glowing," Beth said with wonder. "It means she's healing," Jake said, grinning. "There she is." Tommy raised his water glass. "Welcome aboard, kid. You're one of us now." Caraxi felt tears sliding down her face. Real tears. Not from pain or despair, but from something she'd thought was dead inside her. Gratitude. Relief. Joy. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you." Lisa reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "You're safe here. For as long as you need." For the first time in 3 weeks, Caraxi believed that things might actually be okay. She was wrong, of course. Things were about to get a lot more complicated. But in that moment, surrounded by warmth and laughter and humans who'd chosen kindness over convenience, Caraxi felt something she hadn't felt since the day her colony died. She felt hope. And sometimes hope is enough to change everything. The summons came the next morning. Lisa was having coffee in the galley when the comm system beeped. Tommy answered it from the bridge, then appeared in the doorway looking worried. "Captain? Station Command wants to see you." No. They didn't sound happy. Lisa took another sip of her coffee, deliberately slow. "Let me guess. They heard about our guest." "Probably," Tommy said. "Word travels fast on this station." In the medical bay, Caraxi was sleeping peacefully for the first time in weeks. Her skin glowed softly now, pale blues and greens dancing across her arms. Beth sat nearby, reading a medical journal, keeping watch. Jake appeared beside Lisa. "Want backup?" "Always," Lisa said, setting down her mug. "But you stay here. Keep Caraxi safe. If this goes sideways, you get the Wanderer ready to fly. Understand?" Jake's jaw tightened, but he nodded. "Be careful, Captain." "Careful is my middle name," Lisa lied. 20 minutes later, Lisa stood in the station's council chambers. The room was designed to intimidate. High ceilings, cold lighting. A raised platform where 5 alien representatives sat looking down at her like judges at a trial. Commander Velos sat in the center. A Kryn with authority written into every movement. His 6 legs were folded beneath him, and his compound eyes reflected the harsh lights in weird patterns. To his left sat a selenite counselor, translucent skin glowing faintly. To his right, a Malther, same species as the one who'd told Caraxi to die elsewhere. The other 2 positions were filled by species Lisa didn't recognize. Didn't matter. They all wore the same expression. Disgust. Captain Hayes, Velos said, his translator making his voice sound mechanical. We understand you have taken aboard a Velthran refugee. The one designated as Caraxi. That's right, Lisa said, keeping her voice level. Is there a problem? Is there a problem? The Selenite repeated, his voice dripping with contempt. You harbor a failed genetic specimen. A being with no sponsor, no resources, no value to this station. I harbor a person who needed help, Lisa corrected. The Malther leaned forward. You waste resources on weakness. This is unacceptable. Release the Velthran to station custody immediately, or you will lose all docking privileges. Permanently. Lisa felt her temper rising but kept it controlled. Station custody? What would you do with her? That is not your concern, Velos said flatly. Actually, it is, Lisa shot back. Because she's under my protection now. Which makes it very much my concern. The council members exchanged glances. The Selenite's glow intensified. Anger, Lisa guessed. Protection? The Selenite laughed, a sound like breaking glass. From what? Natural selection? The universe has decided this creature's fate. She contributes nothing. She is genetic waste. Your species displays remarkable foolishness by interfering. That did it? Lisa felt something snap inside her. Genetic waste? She repeated, her voice dropping dangerously low. You want to talk about waste? Let's talk about waste. She stepped forward. The guards along the wall tensed, but she ignored them. My species? We're not the biggest, strongest, or smartest in the galaxy. We know that. But you want to know why we survived? Why we made it from cave dwellers to space travelers? She pointed at the council. Because we never left anyone behind. When one of us fell, we didn't laugh and call it natural selection. We picked them up. When one of us got sick, we didn't let them die in the street. We cared for them. When one of us was hungry, we shared our food. The Malther snorted. Sentimental weakness. Is it? Lisa challenged. Because from where I'm standing, your strong civilization watched a kid starve on your doorstep for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. And not one of you, not one of your superior species, did a damn thing. She had no value, Velos started. She's alive. Lisa shouted. That's value enough. We humans have this crazy idea that every person deserves basic dignity. That life has worth beyond what you can extract from it. We carried our wounded off battlefields. We built hospitals for people who couldn't pay. We created entire systems to protect the vulnerable. She took a breath. You call it weakness. We call it civilization. The chamber went silent. You could hear the hum of the station's life support, nothing else. Finally, the Selenite spoke. Your emotional appeals change nothing. The Velthran has no legal standing. No sponsor. She cannot remain on this station without resources to contribute. These are the rules. Then we're taking her with us, Lisa said. That is also unacceptable, Velos stated. She must remain in station custody. If you refuse to comply, we will revoke your docking privileges and flag your vessel as harboring an illegal refugee. No civilized station in this sector will allow you to dock. Lisa smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. You really want to play that game? This is not a game, the Malther rumbled. You're right. It's not. Lisa crossed her arms. So let me explain something about humans. We're stubborn. Annoyingly stubborn. And when we think something is wrong, we don't just roll over. She pulled out her comm unit. Tommy? Send the message. Already sent, Captain, Tommy's voice crackled back. Velos leaned forward. What message? The one to every human ship in this sector, Lisa said calmly. All 47 of them. Telling them exactly what you did. How you let a refugee starve. How you're threatening us for showing basic compassion. The Selenite's glow flickered. You wouldn't dare. I already did, Lisa interrupted. And I told them if you ban us they should boycott this station. All of them. No more human trade. No more human shipping. No more human commerce. She let that sink in. You might not think much of individual humans, Lisa continued, but collectively, we move a lot of cargo, a lot of goods, a lot of credits. Your economy would notice. Veloz's legs shifted, agitation. This is blackmail. No, this is a choice, Lisa said. You can keep your cruel little system where the weak die alone. Or you can accept that some species have different values. Your call. We could arrest you, the Malthor threatened. You could try, Lisa agreed. But Jake's already warming up the engines. You'd have to breach a diplomatic vessel to stop us. That would be an act of war. Pretty sure your council doesn't want that kind of attention. More silence. Lisa could see them calculating, weighing options. Back on the Wanderer, Caraxi had woken up. Beth tried to keep her calm, but Caraxi's empathic senses were going haywire. She could feel everything happening in that council chamber. The tension. The anger. The fear. Wait. Fear. She focused harder. Yes. Beneath all their arrogance and contempt, the council members were afraid. Not of Lisa. Not exactly. They were afraid of what humanity represented. Change. The possibility that their way, the strong dominating the weak, wasn't the only way. Maybe not even the best way. They were afraid that if humans succeeded with kindness, their entire social order would be questioned. In the council chamber, Velos finally spoke. We will consider your proposal. The council needs time to deliberate. You've got 24 hours, Lisa said. After that we're leaving. With Caraxi. And every human captain in this sector will know why. She turned and walked out, not waiting to be dismissed. Tommy was waiting by the airlock. Captain. That was stupid. Lisa finished. I was going to say incredible, Tommy grinned. Back on the ship, Caraxi met Lisa at the door. Her eyes were wide. You stood up to them. For me? Of course I did, Lisa said like it was nothing. But they could destroy your career. Your ship. Your life. Lisa put a hand on Caraxi's shoulder. Kid, you want to know what would destroy my life? Turning my back on someone who needed help. That would destroy me. This. She gestured toward the station. This I can handle. Caraxi's skin flared bright gold. I felt their fear. They're afraid of you. Of humans. Good, Jake said, joining them. Maybe fear will teach them what compassion couldn't. But Lisa shook her head. It's not about fear. It's about showing them a different way. And we just took the first step. She looked at her crew. Get ready. This is about to get messy. She was right. Within hours the message spread. Not just to human ships but to other species. Other refugees. Other beings who'd been abandoned by the Galactic Order. And they all started asking the same question. If humans could show compassion, why couldn't anyone else? 3 weeks passed in a blur of normalcy that Caraxi had forgotten could exist. She woke up each morning in the small cabin the crew had cleared out for her. Real bed. Real blankets. Real safety. Sometimes she still couldn't believe it was real. The Wanderer had stayed docked at Omega 9, despite the tension. The council had backed down barely. They'd agreed to a temporary arrangement while reviewing station policies. Translation, they were stalling, hoping the humans would just leave. But Lisa wasn't going anywhere. Not yet. Caraxi had become part of the crew's daily rhythm. Jake taught her chess in the evenings, though she was terrible at it. Beth showed her Earth music, everything from classical to something called rock and roll. Tommy let her sit in the cockpit while he ran maintenance checks, explaining how human ships worked. And Kate, stern Kate, who Caraxi had initially feared, taught her basic self-defense. Never know when you'll need to throw a punch, Kate had said with a rare smile. This morning, Caraxi sat in the galley with everyone for breakfast. Tommy was complaining about the station's overpriced replacement parts. Beth was half asleep over her coffee. Jake was reading something on a datapad. Kate was eating with mechanical efficiency, already planning the day ahead. And Lisa was reviewing docking fees, cursing under her breath about station regulations. Normal. Wonderfully, beautifully normal. Then it hit. Caraxi gasped, her hand flying to her chest. The spoon clattered from her other hand, soup splashing across the table. Caraxi? Jake was at her side instantly. What's wrong? Her skin flashed bright red, then orange, then red again. Warning colors. Colors her species only showed when sensing imminent danger. The station, she gasped. Something's wrong. Something's very wrong. Beth grabbed her medical scanner, but Caraxi waved it away. Not me. The station. I can feel it. Everyone stared at her. Feel what? Lisa asked carefully. Caraxi closed her eyes, focusing. Her empathic senses had always been strong, but since recovering, since being around people who actually cared, they'd become even sharper. She could read emotions, yes, but there was something else. Something she'd never told anyone because she hadn't understood it herself. The fusion core, she whispered. Level 7. North Quadrant. There's a fracture developing in the containment field. How do you know that? Tommy asked, not disbelieving, just confused. I can feel it. Caraxi opened her eyes. Velthrans with strong empathic abilities can sense structural stress through emotional resonance. The station itself has a kind of energy signature. And right now that signature is screaming. Lisa was already moving. How bad? Bad. If it fails? 8,000 people die, Lisa finished grimly. She grabbed her comm. This is Captain Hayes of the Wanderer requesting immediate connection to station engineering. A bored voice answered. Engineering? What's the problem? You have a fracture developing in your fusion containment. Level 7 North Quadrant. You need to check it now. Silence. Then laughter. Lady, our scanners monitor that core 24/7. There's no fracture. Stop wasting our time. I'm telling you. And I'm telling you our equipment says everything's fine. Unless you've got actual evidence, don't call this line again. He cut the connection. Lisa looked ready to punch something. Arrogant. They won't listen, Caraxi said quietly. They never listen. Then we make them listen, Jake said. He looked at Caraxi. How sure are you? Completely, she said without hesitation. I can feel it like I feel my own heartbeat. That fracture is there and it's growing. Lisa made a decision. Tommy, Kate, you're with me. We're going to engineering whether they like it or not. Jake, Beth, stay with Caraxi. If this goes wrong, we'll get her out, Jake promised. Lisa grabbed her jacket and headed for the airlock. Tommy and Kate followed, Kate already checking her sidearm. 30 minutes later, Lisa stood in the engineering section facing 3 very annoyed technicians. One of them, a Kryn named Telos, was particularly hostile. You can't just barge in here making wild accusations, Telos chittered. Our systems are perfect. Human paranoia is not our problem. Then humor me, Lisa said. Run a manual inspection. Level 7 North Quadrant. What's it going to cost you? 20 minutes. It will cost us time we don't have, another technician said. We're running routine maintenance on 16 other systems. We can't drop everything because some human has a bad feeling. Tommy stepped forward. Look, I'm an engineer too. I know systems can miss things. Sensors have blind spots. Just check it. Please. Something in his tone must have registered. Telos's mandibles clicked in annoyance, but he pulled up a schematic. Fine. But when we find nothing, you're banned from this section. Permanently. He dispatched a maintenance drone to level 7. They watched the feed on his monitor as the drone navigated through tight spaces, scanning as it went. The first 3 scans showed nothing. See, Telos said smugly. Your alien friend is wrong. Keep checking, Lisa insisted. The drone moved deeper into the compartment. Its scanner swept across the containment field housing. What? Twice. Then it caught something. The image on screen flickered. A hairline fracture, barely visible, spider webbing across the containment field support structure. The kind of fracture sensors would miss because it was forming between scan cycles. The kind that wouldn't show up until it catastrophically failed. The kind that would kill everyone on the station. Telos went very still. That's impossible. But it's there, Tommy said quietly. The room erupted into action. Technicians scrambled to emergency protocols. Alarms began sounding. The station commander was contacted. Emergency repair teams were dispatched. Lisa stood back and watched them work, feeling a strange mixture of relief and anger. Relief that they'd caught it in time. Anger that it took nearly losing 8,000 lives to make them listen. 3 hours later, the repair was complete. The fracture had been stabilized, reinforced, and would be fully replaced within the week. The station was safe. And everyone knew who'd saved them. Word spread like wildfire. The Velthran refugee, the one they'd laughed at, the one they'd called genetic waste, had saved the entire station. The being who supposedly contributed nothing had just prevented the worst disaster in Omega 9's history. The station commander himself showed up at the Wanderer's airlock. A dignified Selenite named Counselor Vex, who'd been on the council during Lisa's confrontation. The council wishes to extend its gratitude, Vex said stiffly. The Velthran's actions have been noted. Her name is Caraxi, Lisa said coldly. Yes, Caraxi. Vex looked uncomfortable. We were hasty in our previous assessment. You were cruel, Lisa corrected. There's a difference. Before Vex could respond, more figures appeared at the airlock. Refugees. Dozens of them. Species Lisa didn't even recognize. All looking desperate. Please, one of them said, a small being with purple fur. We heard what you did. How you helped her. Can you help us too? More voices joined in. More pleas. More desperate faces. The council's nightmare was coming true. The refugees weren't just asking for help anymore. They were demanding it. And they were using humanity's example as proof that help was possible. Lisa looked at her crew. They all nodded. They knew what she was thinking. We can't take everyone, Lisa said honestly to the refugees. Our ship's too small. But we can try to help. We can make noise. We can make them listen. That night in the galley, Caraxi sat with the crew in stunned silence. Her skin glowed bright gold, brighter than it had since before the colony fell. You saved them all, Beth said softly. 8,000 people. I almost didn't say anything, Caraxi admitted. Part of me thought, why should I? They let me starve. They laughed at me. But you did say something, Jake said. That's what matters. Caraxi looked at Lisa. They still don't understand. The council. They think this was about proving my worth. About showing I have value. And? Lisa prompted. That's not the point, Caraxi said. The point is everyone has value. Whether they can detect fractures or not. Whether they're useful or not. You taught me that. She smiled. You saved my life by giving me food. I saved theirs by giving them warning. But you would have saved me even if I couldn't save anyone. That's the difference. That's what they don't understand. Lisa raised her coffee mug. To doing the right thing. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard, Tommy added. They clinked mugs together, human and Velthran, crew and refugee family. Outside, the station continued its operations. But something had shifted. The refugees weren't disappearing quietly anymore. They were visible. They were asking questions. And humans had shown them that another way was possible. The galaxy was about to learn a very important lesson. Never underestimate what compassion can accomplish. The refugee situation spiraled out of control within days. Caraxi's story spread across the station like wildfire. A Velthran left to die, saved by humans who then prevented a catastrophic disaster. It was the kind of story that made people think. Made them question. And refugees, the ones society had deemed worthless, started asking a dangerous question. If she deserves help, why don't we? By the end of the week, over 200 refugees had gathered near the Wanderers' docking bay. They weren't violent. They weren't demanding. They were just there. Visible. Refusing to disappear quietly like they were supposed to. The council was panicking. Lisa stood in the council chambers again, but this time she wasn't alone. 5 other human captains stood with her. Dave Mitchell from the cargo hauler Pioneer. Rachel Stone from the medical ship Horizon. Mark Turner from the security vessel Defiance. 2 others whose ships specialized in food transport and engineering supplies. Commander Velos looked like he wanted to molt out of his own skin. This is unacceptable, he hissed. Your actions have destabilized station order. These refugees are blocking commerce, consuming resources, creating unsanitary conditions. They're existing, Lisa interrupted. That's what you mean. They're existing where you can see them and it makes you uncomfortable. The Malthor counselor slammed a massive fist on the table. You have created this problem. You will solve it. Remove these refugees immediately or face complete trade embargo. No human vessel will be allowed to dock at any civilized station in this sector. Rachel Stone, a gray-haired woman who'd been a doctor before becoming a ship captain, stepped forward. Define civilized. Because from where I'm standing, letting people starve isn't very civilized. They are not productive members, the Selenites started. They haven't been given the chance, Dave Mitchell cut in. He was a big man with scarred hands and a blunt way of speaking. You reject them before they can even try. That's not a meritocracy. That's just cruelty with better paperwork. Mark Turner, younger but with military bearing, added, You want us to fix your problem? Fine. But we're doing it our way. Velos's eyes narrowed. Explain. Lisa smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. Humanity will establish our own station. We'll call it Haven. It'll be specifically for refugees, beings your system has rejected. We'll prove that given support they can contribute. They can thrive. The council erupted in protest. Multiple species talking over each other. But Lisa raised her voice above the chaos. Here's the deal. Any species that wants to trade with Earth and her colonies recognizes Haven's sovereignty. You don't have to like it. You don't have to use it. But you respect it or you lose access to our markets. This is blackmail, Velos stated flatly. No, Lisa corrected. This is business. You deal with us or you don't. Your choice. The Selenites' glow pulsed angrily. You overestimate your economic leverage. Rachel pulled out a datapad. Do we? Earth has 47 colony worlds now. We produce 32% of the sector's agricultural output. Our medical supplies account for 40% of the market. Our ships move 28% of all cargo. She looked up. You ban us, your economy collapses within 6 months. We run the numbers. We know exactly how much you need us. Dave leaned forward. And it's not just us. Word spreading to other human fleets. To independent traders. To colonies on the frontier. You threaten one of us, you threaten all of us. That's how we work. The council members looked at each other. Lisa could see the calculations happening behind their eyes. Pride versus profit. Ideology versus survival. You would risk war over this? The Malther rumbled. We would risk war over doing the right thing, Mark said quietly. That's the thing about humans. We're stubborn when it comes to our principles. Silence fell over the chamber. Finally Velos spoke. The council requires time to deliberate. You will have your answer within 48 hours. 36 hours, Lisa countered. After that, we start moving refugees ourselves. With or without your permission. She turned and walked out, the other captains following. Back on the Wanderer, Caraxi watched the news feeds with growing amazement. The story had gone viral across multiple systems. Not just about her, but about humanity's response. About compassion as policy. About challenging the status quo. They're arguing about us, she said, watching alien commentators debate on the screen. About whether helping refugees is logical or emotional. Whether humans are naive or revolutionary. Jake sat beside her watching the same feeds. Let them argue. Arguments mean people are thinking. Thinking leads to change. But what if they say no? Caraxi asked. What if the council refuses? Then we do it anyway, Jake said simply. That's the thing about doing the right thing. You don't need permission. The council's answer came in 32 hours. They approved Haven Station. Barely. The vote was close enough that Lisa knew they'd spend years regretting it. But approved was approved. The construction took 18 months. Human engineering crews working alongside refugees who wanted to help build their own future. Species that had been called worthless proved remarkably skilled when given tools and opportunity. A Velthran engineer designed the station's unique power distribution system. A Korthan artist created the stunning observation dome that became Haven's centerpiece. A Willix programmer developed the translation software that made communication seamless across dozens of languages. The unproductive were producing. Beautifully. Lisa stood in Haven's command center on opening day, watching the first official arrivals. Refugees from a dozen worlds, all looking for a second chance. Caraxi stood beside her, wearing the formal robes of Haven's first ambassador. Her skin glowed brilliant gold, patterns of light dancing across her in ways that meant joy in Velthran body language. 5 years ago, I was dying on a station floor, Caraxi said softly. Now I'm here. You earned this, Lisa said. No. Caraxi shook her head. You gave me this. By refusing to walk past someone in need. In the observation dome, Jake stood with Beth, Tommy and Kate watching ships arrive. The Wanderer was docked permanently now, serving as Haven's defense coordinator. Think this'll actually work? Tommy asked. Long term? Does it matter? Beth replied. Even if it fails tomorrow, we proved it's possible. We proved another way exists. Kate, ever practical, just nodded toward the arriving ships. Look at them. They're not failing. They're building something. A message arrived on Caraxi's datapad. She read it and smiled. The Velthrans want to propose formal alliance with Earth, she said to Lisa. Our people are rebuilding. We have enough for a colony now. Where? Lisa asked. They want to call it Miller's Hope. Caraxi's voice broke slightly. After Jake. Lisa felt her throat tighten. He'd like that. 5 years after Jake had knelt beside a dying alien and said, "Come eat with me," the galaxy looked different. Haven Station thrived. 3,000 permanent residents. 5,000 temporary visitors. Species that had been rejected were now creating art, conducting research, building businesses. The genetic waste had become invaluable. Other species started paying attention. Not all of them liked what they saw, the traditional power structures felt threatened. But others, especially younger generations, started asking questions. Started demanding their own governments show more compassion. Change was slow, but it was happening. On Haven's 5th anniversary, they held a celebration in the observation dome. Hundreds of beings from dozens of worlds, all gathered together. Jake stood at the center with Caraxi, now considered family to the entire Wanderer crew. He raised a glass. 5 years ago we took a chance on compassion, he said. Everyone told us it was stupid, naive, that we'd regret it. He looked around at the thriving station, at the faces of people who'd been given hope. I don't regret a damn thing. The crowd erupted in cheers. Multiple species, multiple languages, all celebrating the same idea, that everyone deserves dignity. That strength isn't just about power, it's about lifting others up. Later that night, Caraxi stood in the observation dome alone, watching stars wheel past. Her skin glowed softly, contentedly. A human maintenance worker passed by, carrying tools. Young guy, maybe 20. He nodded to her politely and kept walking. Just another day. Just another person doing their job. Nothing special. Except it was special. Because 5 years ago she would have been invisible to him. Or worse, she would have been something to mock. Something to ignore. Now she was just another person on the station. Worthy of a polite nod. Worthy of existing. That's what humans had given her. Not just life. Not just food. But dignity. The simple, radical idea that she mattered. The galaxy's power structures hadn't changed overnight. The strong still dominated in most systems. The weak still struggled. But Haven existed. A bright point of light showing another path. A place where, come eat with me wasn't just an invitation, it was a philosophy. And philosophy, Caraxi had learned, was the most powerful force in the universe. Because it didn't just change stations or systems. It changed hearts. It changed minds. It changed what people believed was possible. Jake had been right that first day. One act of kindness had changed everything. Not because it saved one life, but because it proved that compassion wasn't weakness. It was humanity's greatest strength. And slowly, beautifully, painfully, the rest of the galaxy was learning that lesson too. The strong species wasn't the one that abandoned the weak. It was the one that said, come eat with me. And meant it.